This particular case is really long, and it looks like it has twice as many things as all the other ones before, which is a little weird. February 24th, 9:41 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 2. So what do you think, Mr. Wright? I think the prosecution is as confused as we are. After all, the victim was murdered in 2 different places at the same time. And a different suspect was arrested at each of the crime scenes. Lana. Good morning, Mr. Wright. I apologize for yesterday, I was indisposed. Hope they didn't hold you too long for questioning. We just finished, actually. I'm used to all-nighters, though. So how'd it go? It's as Mr. Wright suspects. The police are clueless. I figured as much, so I struck a plea bargain. A plea bargain? What do you mean by that? We agreed that if I told them the truth behind this simultaneous murder, they wouldn't see capital punishment. That's what I mean, Emma. But Lana, don't tell me you... Much to my regret. I'm as much in the dark about this as they are. Miss Skye. We found trace evidence of a certain person in the police department's evidence room. They belong to Officer Jake Marshall. What kind of trace evidence? Bloodstained fingerprints, to be exact. That's the trump card I have up my sleeve today. You do understand what this means, don't you? In order to defend my sister, you're going to accuse Mr. Marshall? We have to play the cards we're dealt. Isn't that right, Miss Skye? Do what you have to do, Mr. Wright. February 24th, 10 a.m. District Court number 9. Courtroom number 9? Court now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is... I'm afraid you'll have to clarify. It takes 30 minutes by car to reach the police department from the prosecutor's office. Yet the victim, Bruce Goodman, was slain at both places at the same time. But that's not physically possible, is it? What's more, I hear the victim from the evidence room just disappeared. Yeah, and the body eventually reappeared in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Wow, this is one messed up trial. One of my duties as prosecutor is to present impartial evidence. Today I will present evidence relating to the murder at the police department. In so doing, I believe the way in which we should proceed will reveal itself. That's what sets Mr. Edgeworth apart. He sounds so on top of things, even though he doesn't know what's going on himself. Yeah. And that's supposed to be an admirable trait? It's working, isn't it? I mean, you do it all the fucking time. Very well, let the trial resume. On the day of the crime, what exactly transpired at the police department? Mr. Edgeworth, you may call your first witness of the day to the stand. For its first witness, the prosecution calls the suspect of the murder that occurred at the police department. Suspect? You mean the so-called murderer? Oh boy. Things are getting wild from the get-go. I don't want to deal with Meekins, though. Will the witness please state his name and occupation? Yes, sir. I'm Officer Mike Meekins, sir. My occupation is, that would be murderer, sir. So you're telling us you're a professional killer? Sir, it was me, sir. I'm the one who did it. I'll never kill anyone again, sir. You've got to believe me, sir. I hate you with that fucking megaphone. Actually, what we'd like to hear from you is, sir, I'm what you would call part of the younger generation, sir. A person whose actions adults can't possibly comprehend. Fuck you, man. Please, Mr. Edgeworth, sir, help me, sir. Officer Meekins. Yes, sir. Give us your report of the crime. Consider that in order. Yes, sir, as you wish. After all, I am part of a generation that must be told what to do, sir. Alright. You can't fault him for a lack of enthusiasm. Yeah, okay. Crime report, sir. The word sir is going to not have any meaning by the end of this. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. I fought for my life, then I did it. After that, I passed out, until another officer smacked me awake. So the victim, Detective Goodman, attacked you? Do unto others before they do unto you. That's the Meekins family motto, sir. I see. Then you fainted and a colleague helped you regain consciousness. Yes, sir. He knocked me upside the head, sir. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. What I need here is more info to work with. Crime report, sir. Cross-examination. Mr. Meekins, you work in the General Affairs Department, do you not? Yes, sir. I'm in charge of hiring new recruits. Yikes, now there's a scary thought. Evidence transferal was taking place on the day of the crime, which meant many officers were given special tasks not ordinarily performed. I was in charge of guarding the Blue Badger, sir. The Blue Badger? Yes, sir. The lovely police mascot created by the Chief of Detectives, sir. Oh, he likes the Blue Badger. Gumshoe, you have a fan. Oh no, it's in my dreams. I was to ensure it wasn't broken during the transferal process. That was my sole mission for today, sir. I see. Sounds like a very, important mission. After the award ceremony finished that day, there were so many people running around that I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room. Oh, so that's why you went to the evidence room. Tell us, what'd you see when you got there? Spotted a suspicious man on the security screen. In order to enter the evidence room, you need an ID card, am I correct? Precisely, sir. I have one right here, right around my neck. So then, your ID number should be listed on here, right? There it is, I found it, it's the one right there. Could you please read us the number? Yes, sir. It's 4989596, that's my number, sir. I see. But the number 4989596 is shown as being used twice. Please explain, witness. It's no real mystery, sir. The first time was when I relocated a Blue Badger to the evidence room. And the second time is when I went to get him after everything settled down. I see. So it was during that second time when... Yes, sir. That's when I spotted a man on a security screen. So you were attacked. Can you tell us exactly what happened to you? It was a knife, sir. A knife! Detective Goodman pulled a knife on you? What happened then? Well, with me charging in on him like that, he looked as surprised as I was. You aren't exactly the kind of person someone would want to run into. That's when I reacted, sir. I swung my arms like an octopus struggling to detain him. That's how I got this gash on my hand. Maybe if you just kept your cool, your hand wouldn't be... When I saw the blood trickling down my arm, I panicked. I grabbed the man by his collar. What exactly do you mean when you say you did it? I don't look the type, but I'm really into kung fu films, sir. The man let his guard down for just an instant, so I snatched the knife from him. You took his knife? I spun him around to perform the disarming maneuver. I made sure to close my eyes like a man. I see. Must have been desperate. The next thing I knew, his white coat was drenched in a sea of my blood, and then the next thing I knew... Yes? He punched me right in my face, sir! Passed out. About what time did you regain consciousness? No offense, sir, but how am I supposed to know? I was unconscious. Alright. According to the report from the officer that woke up the witness, it was about 5:30. Hit me right in the head, too. I woke up crying tears of pain. That's nice, sir. I mean, it's nice that you recovered, that is. When I came around, though, I made sure to finish my mission, sir. Your mission? Yes, sir. The Blue Badger, sir. I returned him to the entrance before things got out of hand. Well, we can all rest easy now. I believe we now have a fairly accurate picture of what happened. Yes, Your Honor, only one thing remains unclear. Was the man this officer murdered really the victim? Got a point. Yes, Officer Makins. With regard to that, sir, take a look at this. It was sent to my jail cell. Chief Gant delivered it to me this morning, sir. The chief? Delivered it? What's that? A videotape? Yes, sir. That's absolutely right, sir. A videotape, sir. It contains footage from the security camera in the evidence room. What? But I specifically asked if there was such a tape. And was told it had been mistakenly erased. It's quite a mistake. I just do what I'm told, sir. It's the only thing I'm really good at. Looks like communication with the police department is as good as ever. Well then, let's have a look. Show us the video of you murdering the victim. Oh, please stop using that word murderer, sir. It scares me. Video of a real murder. What are we getting ourselves into? Probably not that. But does it make the noise? This footage sucks. Knife! What the fuck? Okay, that was a lot. The Blue Badger's very distracting, but I don't think that the thing haphazardly hanging out of the locker was there at the start. Well, I believe we're all thinking the same thing. How can we deal with these unsettling feelings stirred within us? What the hell was that wriggling piece of plywood? Sir, that is the pride and joy of the entire Criminal Affairs Department, sir. It's the Blue Badger. Why am I not surprised this isn't going smoothly? Security video. Yes, well, anyway. This tape seems to prove that the witness did indeed encounter someone in the evidence room, and some sort of activity did take place. Your Honor, instead of relying on clearly incomplete footage, this witness's testimony will suffice. Is that alright with you, Officer Meekins? Yes, sir, as you wish. First run through of it, Blue Badger already has a handprint on his face. So that can't be done for anything. There is no coat in the top left locker. Glove fell out, looks like it stayed out. Meekins came in. They had their altercation. Wow, that flag just obscured his face. That is not fair. And then they're gone. Well, Meekins obviously didn't kill him. And it looks like now they're utilizing the camera movement to sneak out. And then it loops back around. Can't be seen clearly in the video, but there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir. So it must be him, no one else could have unlocked it. What's this about a fingerprint? Each detective has been given a locker, equipped with a fingerprint-activated lock. These locks ensure that each locker can only be opened by the detective it belongs to. Intriguing. That would mean the victim at the crime scene would have to have been Detective Goodman. Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. Don't know where this cross-examination will lead, but everything begins with contradictions. Tell me, were you able to get a good look at him? At the face of the man who attacked you with a knife? Sir, if you must label people as having seen or not seen the man's face, I believe it would be classified as the latter. The latter? But you were standing right in front of him, were you not? More to the point, you're the person who fought him, aren't you? Oh, yes sir, but I didn't get a clear look at his face, sir. I'm not the kind of guy who looks directly at people when talking to them. Yeah, that's a good trait for a police officer. I'm sure it was him, I'll bet my badge on it. We'll see if you do. But you don't know that for sure, do you? You never actually saw Detective Goodman's face? Well, I suppose you might say that. That is, if you must label people. I hate you. Since his face can't be identified in the video, only you can verify it. Why is everyone looking at me? I had to label your stares as disturbing, or... Beacons. Having been shown a questionable video at best, we are not in the best of moods. Now please be more certain when you testify. Yes, sir. You claimed the man who brandished a knife on you as Bruce Goodman. Tell us why you're positive it was him. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do. About these lockers, is there no other way to open them? No, sir. I myself tried all kinds of methods in the past. They only respond to registered fingerprints, sir. I wonder what kind of methods he's tried. If the man opened the locker's lock, which only responds to its registered fingerprints, then he must be the person the locker was assigned to. Exactly my point, sir. In this too. How do you know that information? Heard rumors, sir, from people in the know, sir. People in the know? The workers in the department cafeteria, sir. They keep me informed. They also listen to my romantic troubles. For the record, the open locker did indeed belong to Detective Goodman. I verified this information through a more reliable source. Will the victim open the locker with his own fingerprint? However, the most important detail is not shown in this video, the man's face. Sir? I may say something, sir. Please do. After all, you're the one being examined. I don't understand why the man's face is so important in this case, sir. I mean, it was his hand that opened the fingerprint lock. And it was his hand that tried to thrust his knife into my body, sir. My unsettled state can testify enough to this. Yes, you have a point. The footage doesn't lie. That is, unless the defense can find a problem with it. Mr. Wright, let's check the court record again. Is there a problem with the security video? Yes? Regarding the video contained on this tape, there is one thing in particular that seems rather strange. Strange? This contradiction leads to the possibility that the man may not have been Detective Goodman. What? This video contains such a contradiction? Interesting. Your Honor, I have a proposal. Yes, Mr. Edgeworth? I propose we have the defense point out to us this alleged contradiction in the video. You would want me to point it out? Very well, proposal accepted. Let us further inspect this piece of evidence. I will now play the security tape. Mr. Wright, please show us the contradiction you speak of. I have to point out a problem in the video. This is the first time I've ever had to do that. You can do it, Mr. Wright. It's all set up so you can fast forward, rewind, or pause the video. Just take a good look and be sure to point out the right thing. Please don't play it too many times. I can't stand watching this video. Did this guy ever become a police officer? Now then, Mr. Wright, please enlighten us. Here is the contradiction that indicates the man may or may not be Detective Goodman. Do 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 do. $221 timer, doing timer things. The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this. Yes, that is strange. Something certainly seems unnatural about that. What could it mean? Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Wright, but you seem to have forgotten the point of this exercise. The point? What you're looking for is one thing and one thing only. Something that indicates the man may not be Detective Goodman. Oh yeah. Whoa, I almost walked right into the defense's trap. But I did the thing. Oh no. God damn it. I'll place him under arrest, sir. Shut up. Rats. I need to slow down and tackle these things one piece at a time. Now what do I do? Guess I'll just look at it again. There's gotta be something somewhere, right? Remember one thing, Mr. Wright. Every time you point your finger, someone gets hurt. Says the one pointing his finger at us. I will now play the security tape. Mr. Wright, please show us this contradiction you speak of. I have to point out the problem in the video. Why is this so hard? Set up so you can fast forward, rewind, blah blah blah. Oh shit. His locker's already lit up. Officer Meekins, as I understand it, the locker apparatus works like though. As I understand it, the locker apparatus works like this. When I grab the handle, a sensor reads your fingerprint. If it's a match, the light turns on and the lock is released. According to my very limited experience, that's the way I understand it, sir. If so, then something's seriously wrong with this picture. I gotta go through the entire thing? What am I doing? And the victim reaches for the handle to open the locker. Let's rewind to a little earlier. Here, notice the light? What's this? It's already lit. That's my point, Your Honor. The locker was already open when the victim grabbed the handle. Order. What's the meaning of this? Very simple, Your Honor. The locker wasn't locked on the day of the crime. But the locker locks are controlled by an electronic system. When the door is shut, a sensor is triggered. And the locker's automatically locked. Well, I know, it must have been broken down. Of course, I'm not an expert in this. That's not likely, Your Honor. The sensor would detect and report any malfunction. Oh well, it just goes to show novices should keep their mouths shut. So then, Mr. Wright, do you have an explanation? Me, Your Honor? Yes, why wasn't the locker locked? Me, Your Honor? The glove fell out, right? Maybe it was blocking it or something? Yeah, well, you see, this isn't exactly my field. What do you think, Miss Scientific Investigator? Huh? Oh, maybe something like jam the system sensor? Something jam the sensor. Something else that seems out of place in this video. I thought so too. Gotta be another clue somewhere in this footage. She keeps reading my mind and I'm not liking it. Very well, let's inspect the video once more. The locker wasn't locked. Mr. Wright, please point out the cause for this. It's so much smoother when fast forwarded. There, it went too far. Aha! Please watch closely. This is the continuation of the part I showed you earlier. What's this? Something white fell out of the locker. But sir, it's been my experience that things fall out when doors are opened. I often fall out and roll. You can't be sure that the item was completely inside the locker to begin with. What do you mean? The sensor triggers the lock when the door is shut. What if something was inserted, say, between the sensor and the door? Inserted? Music, la la la. Stare at it. Stark silence. Badger soul. This white thing wasn't inside the locker. It was stuck between the door and the sensor. I understand now, sir. Just like my tie. 2 out of 3 times it gets stuck in the door when I get out of my patrol vehicle, sir. Instead of the door closing, my tie chokes me. But the object would have to be extremely thin to fit in the door. Not only that, it would also have to block electrical currents. It would need to be an insulator. Yes, an insulator, but at the crime scene. There just might have been something that fits the description. But sir, by insulator you don't mean... I think I finally got this figured out. Very well, will the defense please present the relevant evidence? What was this insulator that was stuck in the locker door? It was the blue badger all along. I have so much evidence. I found this near the locker, a thin rubber glove. We can't be sure that was the victim's locker. It has a tag that says SL9 incident. This video seems to depict the victim opening the locker. But that isn't the case. The lit lamp attests to this. On the day of the crime, even I could have opened that locker. Is this not so, Officer Meekins? Sir? It would appear so, sir. Order. So are we to believe then that the victim, whom this witness stabbed in the evidence room, was not Detective Goodman? Can I be misled, Your Honor? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? The defense has merely demonstrated that possibility and nothing more. The victim in the video was indeed Bruce Goodman. The prosecution will offer one more testimony to prove this. What? Officer Meekins, please testify about this. Sir, me? I'm not sure what you're referring to, sir. Oh, you mean that, sir. Of course. Just a joke. Very well, begin your testimony. There's one other thing that proves that man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. At the time of the crime, the detective had used his card. ID card record. Let's see. I have the ID card record right here, Your Honor. The ID card used at 514 is that of the victim. Just before the crime, huh? Yes, without a doubt, this is the victim's ID. However, one thing does strike me as unusual. Several hundred cases should have been due for transferal. Why were there so few people using this room? This particular evidence room is only used for storing certain special cases. Special cases? Extremely violent cases involving police staff. Just hearing that makes my hair stand on end. Me too, although it doesn't make much of a difference. There were only a few cases up for transferal there, and most were cleared up by noon. Right, I see. Now let us move on to the cross-examination. Mystery man numero dos. One other thing that proves the man is Detective Goodman. So unlike your earlier testimony, you believe this to be rock solid, do you? Yes, sir. Solid as stone, sir. If my hand wasn't wrapped in bandages, I'd even grab the V for victory sign, sir. Couldn't he just use his right hand for that? Let's hear him out fully. As we've seen, one never knows what he might say until the very last second. Is that card hanging from your neck one of these ID cards? Yes, sir. This card right next to my cuff, sir. I keep it here so I won't ever forget it. But what if someone were to steal it from you, keeping it out in the open like that? Maybe I shouldn't wear it around my neck. Remember when I said 2 out of 3 times my tie gets stuck when I get out of my car? Well, the remaining time it's my ID card that gets stuck. Instead of the door closing, my ID card chokes me. Maybe I should just leave this one alone. At any rate, each police officer has only one ID card. Both the police department and the prosecutor's office can attest to this. Please proceed with your testimony. Let it be noted that this is the record the witness referred to. Let me see. Yes, that'd be it, Detective Goodman. What's the matter? According to this, Mr. Edgeworth, your name's on here. So it is, Your Honor. Not that prosecutor again. Maybe he's behind all this. Being a prosecutor, he can hide the evidence. Mommy, is that man in blue a murderer? Don't stare at him. He'll kill you. You got the wrong color, kid. It would seem the inquiry committee will want to speak to you again after this today. I have nothing to be ashamed of regarding my actions or their consequences. For now, let us continue with the cross-examination. Poor Mr. Edgeworth. It must be so difficult for him. Earlier, I believe you testified that when you asked for the man to show his ID card, he pulled a knife on you. Yes, sir, he didn't show me any ID card, sir. Don't you think that's odd? I mean, if he had his ID card, all he had to do was show it to you. There wouldn't be any reason to draw a knife. Maybe he just panicked? Everything stems from contradictions. Let's point them out. Mr. Wright, what do you think? I'm confused. What? The problem with his ID card testimony is far too obvious. Not like Edgeworth to miss something like this. You're thinking too hard about it. Come on, let's show him what we got. Detective Goodman. Almost used their ID card. ID card is used as a record. Time of the crime, the detective used his card. Proves he was Goodman. To enter the room, one must use their ID card. Oh my god. The ID... Why'd this move? Wait. This is ID. Not the item lost, but his ID. Five, 8, 4, 2. But it says 5, 9. I think he lost his ID. I think he was filling out a report because he didn't have his card anymore. Okay. Wait one moment, Officer Meekins. I'm not good at waiting, sir. I have the victim's ID card right here. I found it at the crime scene. That makes sense. When I say crime scene, I'm not referring to the evidence room at the police department. I mean the other crime scene. The underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence to present. It's a very important clue regarding the victim's ID card. The lost item report? It's only half completed. But it shows that Detective Goodman had lost something on the day of the crime. Something important enough to fill out this report. Let me guess, you believe this something to be his ID card, right? I can't say for sure, but there is a high probability. On the day of the crime, Detective Goodman was not carrying his card. Order. So now, what does this all mean? It can only mean one thing. It doesn't even require much thought. The man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather the man who stole his ID card. Order. Does the prosecution have a response? I have only one thing to say to the defense. Huh? Bravo, Mr. Wright. Bravo. Allow me to summarize the defense's argument. At 5:15 p.m. on the day of the crime, the man in the evidence room Officer Meekins encountered was not Detective Goodman. There are two grounds to support this. First, the locker in the evidence room was already unlocked. Second, the victim lost his ID card. Am I correct so far, right? Yes. That being the case, we must inevitably arrive at a single conclusion. If the victim in this video is a fake, then the murder in the evidence room is also fake. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder. Guess that's right. Something wrong, Mr. Wright. Only moments ago you seemed content to be pointing your finger around. This isn't going to end well. Well, it seems you finally realized exactly what you've gone to such lengths to prove. Explain yourself, Mr. Edgeworth. The defense has already done the explaining for me. The victim in this video is a fake, which means the murder did not take place at the police department at 5:15 on the day of the crime. So the real crime could only take place at one location, the underground parking lot. At the prosecutor's office, the murderer being Miss Lana Skye, the defendant. The evidence is compelling. Trustworthy witness. Observe the moment the defendant used the murder weapon. God. I knew that testimony was way too shabby. It's all trapped from the beginning. The activity in the evidence room still leaves many questions unanswered. Who exactly was the victim Officer Meekins encountered? And where did this person disappear to? However, this trial's purpose is to examine only the murder of Detective Goodman. Just so, Your Honor. Mr. Wright, you have to do something or else Lana... What do I do? How am I supposed to get myself out of this mess? Object! One moment, Your Honor. What now, Mr. Wright? Don't tell me you're objecting to what you've just proven. Of course not. But I almost walked right into the prosecution's trap. What are you talking about? The cross-examination has proven one thing and one thing only. The security video did not show the actual murder. Uh-huh. Just, hanging out there, buddy. Uh-huh. However, it cannot be said that it is unrelated to the murder in the pocket. Unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defense demands further examination into the truth of the matter. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, Your Honor? If this court were to examine this further, other witnesses will be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared? Sorry, Your Honor. The prosecution considered the incident at the police station, at the police department, to be unrelated. We've not prepared any other witnesses for this incident. This just might be my chance. Time to call a certain Texas Ranger to the stand. Mr. Wright, do you stop reading my thoughts? I'm honestly getting upset about it. Your Honor, the defense would like to request a specific witness. Blue means it's safe. Stop taking away my safety. Well, whom do you have in mind? Someone we have reason to believe knows the truth. The truth behind the activities that took place in the evidence room. Prosecution requests to hear this person's name before deciding whether or not to comply. Very well then, Mr. Wright. This person whom you would have testify. What is his or her name? Damon Gant, Mike Meekins, Jake Marshall, Bruce Goodman. It's the dead guy. Gumshoe. Lana Sky. The Sky. Angel Star. Officer Jake Marshall. Why him? Can't let Edgeworth know everything just yet. He's in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say. The prosecution agrees to the defense's request. Since he was responsible for guarding the room, we should hear his testimony. Fortunately, he works in the police department. We shouldn't need longer than 20 minutes to prepare. Very well. The court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is subpoenaed. Will the prosecution please prepare the witness during this time? We will, Your Honor. Court now in recess. There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright? There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright? Huh? What do you mean? You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you figured everything out. Lana, you're the one who knows everything. Emma, you always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright's trying his hardest to protect you. I don't recall ever asking for his protection. How can you be so cold? Don't you trust us? Don't you trust me? Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Gumshoe, what is it? You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Sorry, detective. Better be, pal. Hey. Hey. I didn't see you there, Chief Prosecutor Sky. That's okay. So, have you brought what I asked? Oh. You mean this, right? My apologies, Detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request. My name? Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. Could I bother you to bring me the SL9 incident files? I'll need them by noon. Talk about crazy. The SL9 incident. But Lana, that's... I thought Mr. Wright might need them, so I had them brought here. Here, you might do well to read them. Can't believe you, Chief Prosecutor, were a witness in that case. This guy was a witness? Files for the Joe Dark killing solved 2 years ago. Take it from me, you don't want anything to do with serial murders. Oh what? Now that I've brought you your stuff, you're just gonna ignore me? Huh? But why? Why is your name in here? I should read this. Incident number SL9, closed. Perpetrator Joe Dark, crime serial murder, sentenced death. Victims Edward Jones, Jason Knight, Edith Kirby, Rachel Moss, Jeb Bates, Neil Marshall. That explains why Marshall really wanted to capture him. Head prosecutor, Miles Edgeworth. Witnesses Lana Skye, Emma Skye. Investigation Task Force. Executive Investigators Damon Grant and Lana Skye. Head Investigator Bruce Goodman. Investigators Jake Marshall, Angel Starr. Why is your name in here? My name's in there. I don't know. Unless... Oh, it couldn't be. Lana, this SL9 incident, is that... That's the classification number the police filed it under. 2 years ago, the rest of the world knew it as... the Joe Dark killings. But Joe Dark... No. Lana. That's over with. No. Emma, wait. She ran away. You know what? I just remembered. I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, pal, but I'm out of here. Jake Marshall, Angel Starr, Damon Gant, Miles Edgeworth. Not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. It can't be just a coincidence. Knowing you, you just might be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial. Mr. Wright, best of luck. Better take a good look at this file. Gave it a read through. What more could be asked of me?